Hey YouTube! It's Alicia here. I'm back with another review of The Real Housewives of New York City, Season 9, Episode 6. Let's get started. So I'm on location today, not in the usual location. I'm using my lunch hour to do this review today. I'm trying to maximize my time as much as I can. So we open up this week's episode with Bethenny and Sonja meeting for lunch. This is very different from last season when we saw Bethenny going after Sonja pretty hard over that whole restaurant that Sonja was supposed to open or drink or whatever it was. Anyway, tipsy girl. So they talk about Ramona's party, which was the night before, and Bethenny did not go. And so Sonja tries to tell Bethenny that she pulled Ramona to the side on the balcony and tried to, I guess, speak some sense into her and explain to her why Bethenny was upset. But she says it's just impossible to get through to Ramona. You cannot have a mature, emotional conversation with her. So it looks like Sonja is trying to be strategic here, and she needs an ally at this point because we see that Ramona and Luann and Dorinda are all buddied up, and now it looks like Tinsley's joining their team. And Sonja is kind of like the odd woman out since Carol and Bethenny are just a package deal. So I think Sonja is trying to get in there. She needs somebody else in her team. We move on to Dorinda, and there's a lot of sad music playing. We are in the Berkshires, and it is the 5-year anniversary of Richard's death. So Dorinda has organized this family meeting at the gravesite with her mother and her sister, and I think it's a sister-in-law, and her daughter Hannah, and they're going to just pay their respects. And I thought it was interesting that Dorinda's sister's name is Melinda. So they got Dorinda and Melinda. I wonder if it's just the two of them. Carol shows up to show her support, and she says that she feels very at home in cemeteries. That's her little joke. And it's a very nice, quick little ceremony. Hannah has prepared a little speech, and it sounded familiar, y'all. I feel like I've heard those words before, Not tears of sadness that for the loss, but happiness that it happened. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. Did that sound familiar to you guys as well? After their little ceremony, they go back to Dorinda's house and they have food and sit around and talk about Richard. And it was interesting that Dorinda gave Carol a tour and said she'd never seen the house in the daytime. And I was trying to remember back to last season when they were at the Berkshires and they had that whole brouhaha. I was trying to think. They never got a tour or anything, huh? I guess they got there at night and then she and Bethenny left or something like that. But I thought that was very interesting. So the property looks gorgeous. It looks like it's massive. It almost reminded me of like an English manor. It was beautiful. Dorinda tells us she's feeling good in her confessional. That it's been 5 years. That's an important length of time where a person should be able to move forward. She said she's looking forward to her new life and she's finally able to let go. She said she's able to move on guilt-free. And I think that's key because, she's kind of been keeping John at arm's length. And it'll be interesting to see if she really moves forward with John or was she just kind of not using him, but kind of using him to get over the pain since he was a good friend of Richard's. So it'll be good. It'll be interesting to see, what happens to their relationship. We'll move on to Sonja's house and she and Tinsley are in the kitchen and, just goofing around. And Tinsley tells us in confessional that she doesn't really know what the rules are in Sonja's house. She doesn't know if she can have people over, if she can use the kitchen, different things. And I'm thinking, well, all you have to do is ask, right? You can't have an adult conversation and sit down and ask the woman. I mean, I'm sorry, y'all. She's in her 40s. So I guess I just expect more maturity from her. But she really comes across like she's 20 years old. So there's some conversation about the ice in the freezer, how it is brown now. And that's disgusting. And they show the ice, and it's gross. It's like yellowish brown. And Sonja's kind of alluding to the fact that it wasn't brown before Tinsley moved in. And so Tinsley said, oh, no, you're not going to blame me for this. And Sonja says, well, I don't have the intern, so I have to blame somebody. And I was thinking, what happened to the interns? Didn't we just see Connor last week? Like, what happened to him? And Tinsley even refers to Connor. So I'm curious to know what happened. Did they shut her down? Or were they really getting college credits? But seriously, folks, what is happening to Sonja's house? Like, she has no heat. She's plumbing issues, leaks, and now brown ice. Like, that is so gross. Like, I think that house should be condemned. Is Sonja the true Miss Havisham living in a shell of a home that is falling down around her? Like, what is going on? Tinsley's starting to get stir crazy. She's saying, look, I got to get out of this house. I need my own place. I need to be able to date. I need to be able to come and go. I need to be able to cook. She's looking for way more independence than she's experiencing currently at Sonja's house. It's to me clear that they probably were never friends. They were just, Tinsley wanted to be, they wanted Tinsley for the show. She's probably a train wreck. And they needed a way to introduce her. So they brought her in as Sonja's friend, and Sonja has all these extra rooms. And so they probably thought it'd be fine. But, I think it's probably very difficult being a roommate of somebody you don't know well. We move on to Luann, and she is having her dress fitting. And it's I think it's her sister-in-law, and Dorinda's there, and her bridesmaids, you guys. So Dorinda is a bridesmaid, and she says, imagine me as a bridesmaid at 51. And I was like, 51? Where? Like, I honestly thought Dorinda was like 60 something. Definitely the oldest of the group. Like, I'm shocked. She and Carol are around the same age. And then that makes Ramona like 10 years older than her. And Ramona looks 10 years younger, like easily. Like, I was so shocked when she said that. I was like, 50? Really? Like, okay. Dorinda does look a little bit better this season. Like, she looks like she's slimmed down. She looks like she's more tan in her confessionals. And, I mean, she looks better, but she still doesn't look like she's less than 50, like, at all. I mean, she doesn't look 50 at all. She looks like she's still maybe in her 60s or something like that. Like, good for her age, but definitely not in her 50s. There's a quick scene with Tinsley walking down the street with her friend Anisha, I believe was her name. And Anisha has a dog named Luigi, who's riding along in a remote-controlled Mercedes-Benz car. They discuss where Tinsley's going to move to. She says she's currently on the Upper East Side. That's what she knows. That's where she's from. And her friend's trying to encourage her to move downtown. So we'll see what happens. So we move on to Carol, and she's at her house, and Bethenny comes over. And they start talking about Adam. And it looks like Adam has found a new place, so he's going to be moving out soon. And so Bethenny's asking, like, are you okay with that? And so Carol's like, yes, I really need my space. He needs a space. We were bickering at Thanksgiving, and so I think it'll be good for us. But at the same time, she's wondering what's going to happen to their relationship because it's been very convenient having him there. They don't have to figure out who's going to whose place. So I think she is going to experience some sort of sadness when he actually does leave, even though she's clinging to her story that we're just shacking up. It's all casual. It's not deep. So I think she's going to realize how much deeper she is in this relationship than she wants to admit. So Carol's a little bit anxious about this relationship because she says that Adam is asking, what are they doing? She says neither one of them want to get married, but they've been together for 2 years, so what are they doing? And so Bethenny's like asking the same thing, basically. And so it's interesting because if you compare her to Dorinda, who's been in this relationship with John for 4 years, Dorinda's not in any hurry. She doesn't feel any pressure. It doesn't seem like John's pressuring her either, except for to spend the night and stay over and that kind of thing. But I wonder why Carol feels such anxiety about, I don't want to get married. And, especially if Adam's not asking and that's not what he wants either. I really wonder what's going on with her. We move on to Ramona, the perpetual victim. And Dorinda calls her to invite her to a holiday party. Ramona starts complaining to Dorinda that she hasn't heard from Bethenny. Bethenny didn't go to the party and she didn't call. And so they both think that Bethenny should have gone to the party, like at least made an appearance. And so they both feel strongly about that. So Ramona is saying that Bethenny's not a true friend because if she had been a true friend, she would have gone to the party. And what's just crazy is that not at any time has Ramona stopped and thought, maybe Bethenny's mad at me. It's all about Ramona. So we move on to Dorinda, and she's calling around, telling all the girls about the holiday party. So Dorinda wants all the girls to get together, and no one has reached out to Bethenny at all. Like this whole time, Bethenny's been MIA for group functions because of the situation with Ramona. No one's really reached out to her. And really, she's only been filming with Carol and Sonja. And that's it. So, I mean, are they all mad at Bethenny? Or what's really going on here? We get over to the event where the drinks are. And this is like the finale of the episode. So they all get over there and they're hanging out. And so right away, Ramona goes over to Luann and starts talking about the wedding and saying she wants an invitation to the wedding, that she's bought a ticket to Palm Beach. But she won't be able to go to the wedding, but she still wants an invitation. And so Luann keeps telling her, look, I don't want any drama. No one's invited. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but I don't want any drama. And so Ramona's like, I didn't do anything. I haven't done anything. What drama would I possibly cause? Well, let's think about what drama you could possibly cause. Well, one, you went on forever talking about how you dated Tom many times. You riled up Sonja into thinking that he was the late, great love affair of her life, so where she turned against Luann. And you have also been calling up his ex-girlfriends in the middle of the night looking for dirt. I mean, you've been intimating that there's more dirt. Like, I'm sorry, what world are you living in that you think you haven't done anything at all? I mean, it must be amazing to be Ramona and completely forget your transgressions, or maybe not even see them as such, and not be held accountable either. So kudos to Luann for sticking to her guns, because Ramona is really getting indignant and offended, like she's like the innocent, slighted party here. amazing. So after all this back and forth of her acting like, I don't know why I wouldn't be invited to the wedding, she throws out to Luann, well, people are still taking bets on whether or not you're actually going to get married. Well, gee, why wouldn't I want you at the wedding? You're like a barrel of laughs. You probably would taking bets at the wedding. And she says, no, not me, other people. But why say that? Like, Ramona wants to preach that she's a good friend, but she's not a good friend. And she doesn't even see that is so hurtful of a thing to say, and she's just oblivious. And I think she said that just to get back at Luann. I think she was hurt, and she was lashing out, because that's what Ramona does. Also at the party, Tinsley and Carol talk about the possibility of Tinsley moving into her building, which is downtown, because if you remember, Carol is the president of the board, and she said there are 2 openings in her building, and she could help get Tinsley in. So Tinsley's like, oh, I was just thinking about going downtown. But I don't think she's any intention of going downtown. I think she really wants an Upper East Side, experience, and that's where she used to be, and she wants that whole lifestyle, so she's not going downtown. So later, Tinsley's telling the story about her and Topper. She's telling them that she got married to Topper when they were still in boarding school at age 18, because they saw it on 90210. When Andrea got married, they went down and eloped to the courthouse, and they thought, what a great idea. So they did it as well. And then, of course, the school made them annul it because they were still in school, and then they got remarried at age 26. And it was pretty funny because when she was talking about 90210, she was talking to Carol and Bethenny, and they both seemed to be struggling like, 90210? 90210? Like, totally not the generation. But I don't think that I don't think that Tinsley and Bethenny are too far apart in age at all. So I was surprised that Bethenny was like struggling. Maybe she just didn't watch the show. I don't know. But so here we go again, y'all. Ramona and Luann go to the side this time at least to talk about Bethenny. In her presence, but at least she's a little off to the side. And Ramona's again complaining that she hasn't talked to Bethenny or heard to Bethenny. So Luann, to her credit, does try to give some reason and say, listen, I think she was hurt that you brought her daughter into this. And so Ramona's still saying, I didn't say anything though. And so Luann encourages her to kind of bring her to the side and talk to her, So Ramona decides, okay, I'm going to talk to her, but I'm going to bring it to her a different way. I'm not going to attack her. I'm going to come from a completely different approach. Ramona has completely rewritten what has happened in her mind. She is on a completely different page from everyone else. And so she's going to try her new approach. She goes over to Bethenny. She sits beside her, and she's like, so, Bethenny, well, you're a good girlfriend. If one of your friends was upset, would you ask about them? Would you be concerned about them? And so Bethany's just like, what? Like, where is this coming from? So Ramona sidles up to Bethenny, and she says, so, Bethenny, if you're a good girlfriend, do you talk about the good and bad times in your friend's life? If there are bad times, do you like to be there for them? And so Bethany is kind of like caught off guard, like, what? And in her confessional, she says, someone from the Tales of the Crypt came by and asked, do you talk about things that they're going through? I cracked up. Like, Tales of the Crypt, they're really reaching back on this episode. So Bethany's caught off guard, and she tells Ramona that she doesn't like the way she's speaking to her. So Ramona asks again, are you a good girlfriend? Do you want to be there for your friends? And Bethenny just keeps on repeating it. I don't like the way you're talking to me. And so Ramona gets upset, and she's like, what do you mean? How am I talking to you? I'm talking calmly. And she says, well, if you think that you're talking calmly and that the way you're talking to me is appropriate, then you're not very self-aware. So that really gets Ramona mad. And then she starts attacking Bethenny, saying, you're weird. You're very weird. You don't want to talk about your personal life. And she starts attacking her in typical Ramona fashion. Ramona starts to lose it. She says she's very disappointed in Bethenny, that she's very strange, she doesn't understand her. So Bethenny says again, listen, you know what? I'm sorry if you feel that way. I'm going to exit. And she starts telling everyone around her she's going to leave. So she gets up to leave, and Ramona stands up and she announces to everyone that Bethenny doesn't like the way that she's speaking to her. And she starts to laugh. Like, Ramona seems completely unhinged. Like, she seems so crazy here. And I'm like, what is wrong with Ramona? Like, I think she has moments of lucidity, but something went wrong in this exchange. Like, she is just completely out of her mind here. So Bethenny leaves. She doesn't even address that. So then Ramona sidles up to Carol, and she starts to whine at Carol's shoulder. And Carol says, look, you know what? I don't want to get involved. I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to know. So then Ramona says that Bethenny is like a wild dog. And everyone's like, no, no, no. And Tinsley says, well, you're like that too, Ramona. You're reckless with the words that come out of your mouth as well. That was probably, I was surprised Tinsley said that. But she's the only one that actually spoke up and said something about Ramona's behavior. But basically, they shut Ramona down. She wants to keep going on and on and on. So Carol's like, look, I'm leaving. So Carol leaves. And then I think Luann left first. And then Carol left, and then Dorinda left. So they just kind of left that whole scene. They were like, I'm not getting involved in this madness. So that's it, guys. That was this week's episode. What did you think? Did you enjoy it? Leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought about this week's episode. Next week, it looks like Bethenny and Dorinda sit down and talk about the Ramona situation. And Bethany's had it. She's like, look, I've been around the block with Ramona so many times. I'm done. We see Ramona talking to Avery, and Avery is saying that someone needs to make it less awkward. And Ramona's saying, why does it always have to be me? I'm thinking, because you always make it awkward. Then it looks like Tinsley meets a new man, starts dating him. And it looks like Dorinda has some sort of fundraiser. So, interesting. I guess we'll see what happens next week. So thanks for watching, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you really enjoyed this video. Please be sure to subscribe if you have not already, and leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of the show. So I will see you next time. Bye.